We begin today the Gemara on the fourth line of Daf Samachei Amud Aleph. Tana Rabbanan, we learned in the Braise, Nises L'Rishon, a woman gets married to one husband, V'leihoya Labanim, and she had no children. L'Sheni, a second husband, V'leihoya Labanim, and again she had no children. So L'Shlishi Lo Tenase, to her third husband she should not get married. Ela L'Mishayesh Lebanim, unless this is someone that already has children. Like we learned in the Mishnah, that over here, Benegeh to this halacha, we follow Rebbe's opinion that after 2 times the chazaka is established. So therefore, to the third person, she knows, or the husband should know, that he can't have children with her. So unless he had children already, he shouldn't get married to her. Nisis lemi she'en leibanim. What happens if the third time she went and did get married to someone that had no children? Teitze b'lo ksuba. She leaves and she doesn't get her ksuba. Right, so what you see here in the Gemara is that only by the third person she leaves and she doesn't get a ksuba, but by the second person she leaves and she does get a ksuba. So there's a big discussion in Rishonim about this, because seemingly even after the marriage of the second person, when she sees she couldn't have any children, if that already established a chazaka that she can't have children, so she shouldn't be getting any ksuba from her second husband as well. Why is it only that after the third time she gets married and doesn't have children, then she doesn't get a ksuba? Okay, so there's a discussion on this. Taisvus, the Rishonim speak about this. The question was asked on this. Nisis l'shlishi v'leihoya labanim. What happens if she did go ahead and got married to a third person, and even though she wasn't supposed to, and she didn't have any children with him? Mahu de litva'ua hanach kamoi. So now, what's the halacha? Could the previous 2 husbands that were married to her, and she didn't have children with them, could they come now and demand from her and say to her that, look, now we see that you're the one that can't give any birth to children, so the ksuba we paid you, we weren't supposed to give to you. Mi matzo amrila, could they come and tell her, igloi milse, now the matter is revealed, the atu de garant, you're the cause for the fact that I had no children, so why should have I given you the ksuba? If you were the cause that I had to divorce you? Or maybe she can say back to her previous 2 husbands, that no, it's not something that, this is not who I was before, that it's my fault that you did not have children with me. It could be the first, the second husband, the reason I didn't have children with you is because you were not zeichet to have children, or you're the one that's the problem. The fact that I'm not having any children now I became weak. Now something happened with me, and therefore I'm not having children with this third husband. So the Gemara says, Mistavra, it's logical that Matzis Amra, she can say, Matzis Amra Lahu, she can say to the first 2 husbands, Hashtahu de Kachashi. It's now that I became weak, there's no way you can prove that I didn't have children before, that it was me, the reason that I didn't have children.
There's no chazaka now also.
Huh?
So there's no chazaka now also for the third husband.
Because she can say, Hashtahu de Kachashi. Yeah. It seems like basically that's what the Gemara is saying here. The Gemara here is saying that you have these 2 efanim of what. So therefore, she can say hashku l'kachashi. Go prove her wrong. The question was asked over here. Nisis l'revi. What happens if she gets married to a 4th husband? After this 3rd husband, she didn't have children. Then she goes now and gets married to a 4th husband. And v'hayu labanim. And now, by the 4th husband, she does give birth to children. So, Mahu, the titfei l'shlishi. The 3rd husband didn't give her a ksuba, because it was already a chazaka, and therefore she got nothing. And now she had children with the 4th husband, so she goes back to the 3rd husband and says, look, it's you that was the problem. I have children now. So the Gemara says, no, we don't accept that. Why? Amrin Allah, what we say to her is, shtikusach yafe midiburach. You being quiet is better for you than speaking up. Why? Because her husband could say to her, you're coming to me and telling me that you had children. If you had children, so now with this intention that you are someone that can have children, I never divorced you. If I would know you have children, then the divorce retroactively is not a divorce b'chlal. And then what happens now? She's really an Eishes Ish, and the children she has from the second husband, or from this 4th husband, is going to be a mamzedim, so she better not speak up. Maskef Rav Papa, so Rav Papa asks on this, he says, I don't understand. If this taina is a good taina, this is a real problem here, that maybe the whole get previously was only given on this condition because she can't have children. So if she's not going to argue and she's not going to say anything, anan misha skinon, are we going to be quiet about this? Nimtze get bottle mamzerin. If this is a good taina, and we should say this taina on our own, we don't need her to say it for her to say it for herself. So now what would happen is the get would be bottle, and all the children will be mamzerin. So Elamai, the point that Rav Papa is trying to say is we don't accept this taina. When a person divorces his wife, even though we see the reason he divorced is because she didn't have any children, but he's making up his mind that even though there's a possibility she will have children in the future, he's deciding that he's divorcing her unconditionally. He didn't make any conditions, and therefore the get is a get. So this taina that she can come and argue and say, now he can argue back to her, that is, and say that the whole get is not a get, is not true. So Elo, the Gemara says, Rav Papa says, there's a different reason why she can't go back to the previous husbands and say that now, give me the money for my get, or go back to the third husband and say, give me the money for my ksuba. Because we say, Hashtuhu de briyaisa. We say to her, look, maybe now something changed, you became healthy again, and now you're able to give birth. Before we saw that by the third husband you couldn't give birth, and therefore established a chazakah that you can't give birth, so therefore you didn't get yiksubah. Now you had children, that's something that happened now, that you became healthy and you're able to have children. Fight to the Gemara says, again continuing here in this, the arguments between the husband and the wife, who is the one that is the cause for the infertility? That's basically the subject over here, to figure out whether she deserves to get a ksuba or not. So Hu Amar, the husband comes and says, Mina, it's from her, she's the cause. V'hi Amra, and she comes and says, Minei, he's the cause, and therefore he should give me the ksuba. Amar Rabami, so Rabami says, Dvarim shebeinai lebeina, when it comes to such kind of matters that are between him and her, Nemenes, she is believed to say that he is the cause for the fact that we're not having any children. Time am I, what's the reason for this? Because he, Kaimala, she can know, she can feel and know, b'yayre kechetz, whether he shoots like an arrow. She can feel the relations between them, she could know whether he has the ability to have children. But who, like kimle b'yayre kechetz? He, the man, cannot feel and know whether he's yayre kechetz, whether he shoots like an arrow, and therefore whether he can give birth to children or not. So that's something that only she could feel or not, and not him. So therefore we trust her. So there's a big discussion here in all the Rishayim, and Taisus here as well, that why aren't we concerned about the fact that maybe she just wants to get married to someone else? I mean, true, she can feel and he can't feel, but isn't there a concern that maybe she just wants to get married? She's saying something without any proof whatsoever. Maybe she just wants to go get married to someone else, and that's why she's saying this. So Taisus says the case over here must be that she's not even demanding Bichlal to get divorced. If she would be the one coming and demanding to get divorced, and then she says, I want to get divorced because you're the one that can't give birth to children, and I want to get my ksuba money, then we're not going to trust her. But if he's the one that's trying to give her a divorce, and she's not even asking for it, and then she says that you're the one that is the one that has a problem of infertility, then we're going to believe her. That's how Taisus learns this. But there's a lot of different shatim and Rishayim here in this Gemara. So the Gemara weiter, Omar Ihu, if he comes and says, you know what, I have a simple eitzah. We're having an argument, who's the cause of the infertility? No, so let me go and marry a second wife, and we'll see what's going to happen. Am I going to have children from the second wife? So, and what does she say? She says, no, I'm not interested. Either we have children, or if we can't have children after 10 years, so you have to divorce me, you have to let me go. So again, Omar Ihu, inside, the Gemara says, he says, Ezel, Insiv, it's let me go and marry another wife, and I will come and check to see regarding myself whether I can have children or not. Amar Rabami, so Rabami says, no, we don't give him the chance to do this. If she's not interested in remaining married to him after 10 years and being with a second wife, so he has to divorce her and give her a ksuba. Sha'ani Aimer, because I say, Kol anisi isha al ishtay, any man that comes and says, I'm going to marry a second wife, now you're going to have to deal with a rival wife, she doesn't have to agree to this, he has to divorce her and give her the ksuba. Rava says, no, Naisa Adam Kama Noshim al Ishtay, a person can come and marry as many wives as he wants, even if he already is married before, and but Vahud Isla Limizinayu. If he has enough money that he could support all of them, Gesundheit, let him go and marry as many wives as he wants. So the Gemara, again, an argument between the husband and wife. Hu Amar, the husband comes and says, Apolas begoy eser. You miscarried within the 10 years. So even though I'm married to you 10 years, but it's not yet 10 years from when you miscarried. So we still should wait. Vihi Amra, she comes and says, Lo Apolas, I never miscarried, and I'm not interested in waiting. I want you to divorce me now. So what do we do? Who do we trust? Rabami says, Av bezu hine menes. In this case as well, we believe her that she never miscarried. Why? If it's true that she did miscarry, nafsha b'akrasa loy mechaska. She would not want to come and argue and say about herself that she's a barren woman. The fact that she miscarried is an advantage for her. She can come and show people that she's able to give birth. So therefore, if she's saying that she never miscarried, we trust her.
Maybe she's saying he's an akar.
Maybe
she's saying he's an akar.
That I miscarried and
That she didn't miscarry.
That she didn't miscarry.
But
then people hear that she was married to someone for 10 years. I mean, it's what people will hear. You were married to someone 10 years and you didn't give birth. And she's saying he's a akkar, but people will say maybe you're the akkar and no one's going to want to marry her. If she miscarried, people will say, oh, maybe she can give birth. Hipila v'chazra v'hipila. What happened if he comes and says that she miscarried once, twice, and v'chazra v'hipila? Now, one second, before the argument here, first the Gemara says the halacha, that if she miscarried a few times, so then, huchzike l'nefalim. So if it happened 3 times that she miscarried, so now she has a chazakah, that this is a woman that miscarries. And therefore, he has to divorce her, and he has to, and Rashi says that he's going to have to give her a ksubah, because maybe the fact that she's miscarrying is his problem, that he's not zaycha to have children from her. So now what happens, Gemara says, Hu Amar Apila Trei. He comes and says that she miscarried only twice. So if she miscarried only twice, there's no chazaka yet that she miscarries with him, and therefore he doesn't have to divorce her yet. Vihi Amra, she comes and says, no, class, I miscarried already 3 times, and she's trying to blame him, and she's saying, I want you to divorce me. Who do we trust? Rabbi Yitzchak ben Elazar said, Uv dahave bei medrasha. This incident came up in the Mismedrash, and va'amru, and they said, himem, she's believed to say that she miscarried 3 times. De'imisa de lo yafla, if she did not miscarry 3 times, nafsha benefli lo machzaka. She would not come and say about herself that it's established already that I'm a woman that miscarried 3 times. It doesn't look good. People might not want to marry her for this. So if she's saying this, that means that it's true. We can trust her. Zok Mishnah here, it's interesting, after discussing all the details of the halachas of Peri V'Ribya, the Mishnah comes back to the Etzem halacha, who's even obligated in this mitzvah. So the Mishnah says, Ish mitzvah al Peri V'Ribya, it's the man that has the mitzvah to give birth to children. Avaloy Isha, the woman is not obligated. Rabbi Yochanan says, Al Shneim U'Oime, it's regarding both the man and the woman, regarding Adam and Chava, it says, Vayevarach Oisam Melikim, that the Eibishter benched both of them. So Oisa means that the man and the woman are both obligated. From where do we know this halacha? In other words, a Tanakama that says that only the man is obligated. Because the pasuk says, fill the land, and conquer the land by having children. That's the continuation of the previous pasuk we just brought. So ish darka lichpaish, a man, it's his derech to go and conquer. A woman, it's not her derech to go and conquer. A woman stays indoors. She's more tzniisdik. Doesn't have that. This concept of kibush, of conquering, is not for a woman. So we see from the expression of the pasuk that it's the mitzvah of the man. Says the Gemara, no, but adarabah. And the contrary, from this word itself, you see that it refers to both the man and the woman, because it says vikivshua. It's a plural term. Tarti mashma. It seems like it's talking about both to the man and the woman. Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, vikivsha ksiv. In the pasuk it's written vikivshua without a vav, so it could be read as vikivsha, referring only to the man. Rav Yosef Rav Yosef says that only the man has the obligation is from a pasuk that it says later, Ani kel shin daled yud, prei urevei, uses a singular term of prei urevei, and v'lekama pru urevu. It does not say Aver Pru Revu, so from here we see that the mitzvah is only for the man. Another thing the Gemara brings, now this is unrelated, but it's the same Amayra that was mentioned before, so the Gemara brings another few statements from the same Amayra. Just like a person has a mitzvah to say to people, in other words, when you see someone that is not doing something right, and you have to rebuke him, Rashi here brings that there's a mitzvah minatayra, to go and help another yid, to educate another yid, to rebuke another yid, to do a mitzvah or not to do an aveda. So just like it's a mitzvah to say to somebody and to help him with hadava nishma, when you know that he's going to listen to you, kach mitzvah al adam shaloi loima dava sheini nishma. Don't say something when you know that he's not going to listen to you, because then the words of the Torah that you just told him are only going to be embarrassed, that he's not going to listen. But now this, what it says here in the Gemara, is not so pashut. There's a big discussion in the Rishonim about this, because there is another Gemara where it says that you should rebuke a person again and again, and even if he doesn't listen once, you should rebuke him again. And the Gemara goes so far to say, even if he comes and hits you, you should still, and we know, so what is it saying here in the Gemara? That you should be quiet if you know that the other person won't listen to you. So there's different tirutzim. The Alter Rebbe in Shulchan Aruch brings up this inyan, and he says that when it's in public, when you're rebuking somebody and you know that he's not going to listen to you, so then don't say anything, because you're only going to embarrass him, you're going to embarrass the words of Torah. But privately, when there's a person that you could influence, so even if you know that he's very stubborn, but you have to nevertheless make an effort to talk to him once and twice and again and again. Another thing the Gemara bring, another Amayra that brought a source for this, Rab Abba says chayva. You have an obligation to be quiet. It's not only mitzvah, chayva is a stronger expression, that you must be quiet. Shenemar al teichiach, let's do not rebuke or teach someone that's scornful, he's not going to listen to you. Pen yisnach, it's just going to bring him to hate you. Heicheyach l'chacham, you rebuke someone that's wise, v'ye'avcha, and he'll accept the rebuke lovingly. This is the famous lashon also that's brought in Hayom Yom. Ehoives habikodesh hita mitcha al goyva amiti. You should love somebody that comes and gives you constructive criticism, because that's the only way you can grow. Another thing, the same Rabbi Loi said in the name of Rabbi Shimon, person is allowed to change from the truth when it comes for the purpose of peace. After Yaakov Avinu passed away, so the Shvatim came to Yosef and said, your father commanded and said that you should forgive us for what we did. And this wasn't even true. Yaakov never said this, but the Shvatim said this because they wanted to make peace between them and Yosef. Rab Nosson says, mitzvah. It's not only a heter that you're allowed to change, but it's a mitzvah to change. Shenema, as the pasuk says, Shmuel tells the Eibishter, when the Eibishter tells Shmuel to go and anoint David the Melech as a king, so Shmuel says he's afraid of Shaul HaMelech. So the Eibishter tells Shmuel, again, Shmuel first said, Eich Eilech, hakar go v'shma Shaul v'araguni, and Shaul will hear about this and he'll kill me. And the Eibishter tells him, you go and tell him that you're just bringing karbanis and you just disguise yourself. Don't tell him the truth. So you see that the Eibishter told him to do so, and he was fulfilling a mitzvah by changing from the truth. By Rabbi Shmuel they learned Gadol Hashalim. Peace is so great that even the Eibishter changed from the truth for the purpose of peace. In the beginning it says this is when Sarah laughed when the Eibishter told her that she's going to have children. She said, how could I give birth to children and my husband, my master, is so old? And then afterwards, when the Eibishter tells Avram, why did your wife laugh? And what does the Eibishter say? The Eibishter does not say that your wife Sarah said that you are old, but the Eibishter says to Avram, she said that she's old. So the Eibishter changed in order to preserve the shalom bayis between them. Going back to the Mishnah, By? The what? No.
If you tell somebody and you think he's not going to listen to you,
okay, so that Gemara, if I remember correctly, is only benigeh to a mitzvah mit rabbanon or something that's not mefurish b'Torah. But when it's something mefurish b'Torah, you don't say the klal of mutar shi shegin v'ayim mezidin. Taisus over there says. Okay, Rabbi Yochanan ben Breika Omer. So he held that the mitzvah of Pru Revu is even for the women. So that's machlokes in the Mishnah. So Itmer Rabbi Yochanan Rabbi Shua ben Levi. So there's an argument between them. Chad Omar Alachik Rabbi Yochanan ben Breika. Paskin like Rabbi Yochanan ben Breika. A woman also has the mitzvah. Chad Omar Ein Alachik Rabbi Yochanan ben Breika. Another opinion is we don't paskin like him. So now the Gemara is going to try to figure out what Rabbi Yochanan holds. To Stayim, let's try to prove here that Rabbi Yochanan, who the Amar, Rabbi Yochanan is the one that said that Ein halacha, that we don't paskin like Rabbi Yochanan mebreke. Why is this? The Yosef Rabbavo v'ka'amar mishmei Rabbi Yochanan halacha. Rabbavo was sitting and he repeated in the name of Rabbi Yochanan that the halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan mebreke. And what happened? V'adrinu Rab Ami v'Rab Asi la'apayu. And when Rabban and Rabasi heard this, they turned their faces away, in other words, in disapproval. So we see that it wasn't true. Rabbi Yochanan did not paskin like Rabbi Yochanan ben Breike. Others say that there was not Rabbi Vahu, it was someone else that said this in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. Rab Chia bar Abba Omar, Rab Chia bar Abba reported this in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. Va'adrinu Rabami v'Rabasi la'apayu. And Rabami and Rabasi turned their faces away in disapproval. So the Gemara just says over here about the story, who's the one that said this in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. So it's understood according to the one that says that Rabbi Vo is the one that said it in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. So why did Rabbi Ami and Rabasi not correct him outright and tell him you're wrong? The reason is Mishum Kovet Bei Kaiser. Because of the honor of the Caesar, Rabbi Vo, as Rashi here brings from different Gemaras, that he was Mekudav Lamalchus, he was very close to the Caesar, so therefore they didn't want to speak up clearly against what he said. So they didn't respond to him, they just turned away their faces. But according to the version that says it's Rab Chia bar Abba that reported this in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, so then so they should tell him clearly, Rabbi Yochanan never said this. So the Gemara doesn't answer this. But going back to the question, Ma'yavi Allah, what's the answer? Do we paskin like Rabbi Yochanan ben Breike? Do we not paskin like him? And the question really is regarding Rabbi Yochanan. Who does Rabbi Yochanan hold like? Tashema. So the Gemara brings a raya. Amar Rab Acha bar Chanina, Amar Rab Avo, Amar Rab Asi. Uvdave kamed Rabbi Yochanan. There was an incident by Rabbi Yochanan beknishte de Kaisri, in the shul of the city Kaisri, and va'amar, and he said Yoitzi v'yitin ksuba. Okay, there was a woman that did not have any children, and she came and she said she wants her husband to divorce her so she can go and fulfill her mitzvah to have children. Okay, so and what did Rabbi Yochanan say? That he has to divorce her and he has to give her the ksuba. So the case over here, Taisvis over here says that the case over here was that it was known that it was the husband that was the akar. He was the one that had with the issue of infertility. So therefore she said, listen, I'm married to he can't have children, I want to go and do the mitzvah. So in such a case, Rabbi Vo said, the husband is the one at fault here, so therefore he has to divorce her and allow her to go have children, to do the mitzvah, and he has to give her the ksuba. So now if you're going to say she has no mitzvah to have any children, so ksuba maya vidita. How could she demand that she wants to be divorced to do the mitzvah, and the husband has to do this for her? And he has to even give her the ksuba. Why does he have to give her the ksuba? And the emphasis Tosfos over here says the Gemara could have asked even more. Why would we force him even b'chlal to divorce her? She wants to go do a mitzvah. It's not a mitzvah for her. Elamai, what do you see from here? That Rabbi Yochanan holds, like Rabbi Yochanan ben Breike, that it is a mitzvah. So therefore she can demand to be divorced and also to get the ksuba. So the Gemara says, not necessarily. Maybe there's another reason why she could demand to be divorced when she has no children. Maybe she's coming and she has another argument. What's her argument? There's a woman that came in front of Rabami, and she said to him, Havli ksuba, I want to be divorced and I want to get my ksuba. I can't have children with this man. Amar lo, so Rabami says to her, Zil, go, loy mifkedus. You're not commanded for this mitzvah, so why you can't come and claim that you need to do this mitzvah? Amrale, so she answered him, no, I have a different taina. Misivu dila, in the old age of this woman, my teva la, the hachitza, what's going to be with this woman? So that's what she's saying. I don't have a mitzvah, but I could demand that I want to have children, so at my old age I'll have children to help me out. So Amar, so Rabbi Ami said, Ki ha vade kefina. This is a good argument, and with this argument we will force the husband to divorce her. Similar story the Gemara says, a woman came in front of Rav Nachman and also wanted to be divorced and to get a ksubit, to go get remarried, to have children. Amalah, and Rav Nachman said to her, you don't have the mitzvah, so you remain married to this husband even without children. Amralei, so she said to Rav Nachman, does this woman here not need a cane in her hands in her old age? In other words, a child to rely on in her old age. Umara lekvura, and also a shovel for burial, to have children that will make sure that she gets buried. So Amar Rav Nachman said, Ki ha vada kefina, with this kind of a taina, we definitely will rely on, we definitely will force the husband to divorce her. Okay, so far the Gemara refuted over here the rayas from what we brought from Rabbi Yechanan. The Gemara brings another few stories here. Let's see about this mitzvah of Piriv Ribya. Yehuda v'Chizkiya tu'umim hayu. Yehuda and Chizkiya were twins. And what happened? Echad nigmara tzurasai l'seif tisha. One of them, so he was born after 9 months. V'echad nigmara tzurasai l'tchilas shiva. And the other one was born after 7 months. Now, who was their mother and who was their father? Yehudis, the bisu de Rab Chiya. So Yehudis, which was the wife of Rab Chiya, so she gave birth to them. They were the children of Rab Chiya. So Havil Atzar Leida. So she had a lot of pain giving birth to twins, and so it was very difficult for her. So what did she do? Shanoi Mona. She changed her clothing. And Vasila Kamed Rab Chiya, and now she came in front of her own husband Rab Chiya, but she didn't want that he should recognize her. So she came and she said to him as follows. She asked him a question. It's a mifkada piriviribya. Does a woman have the mitzvah of giving birth to children or not? Amala. So he said to her, Loi, a woman does not have the mitzvah of piriviribya. So after she heard this psak din from her husband, so what did she do? Azla, she went, Ishtiya Sama de Ikrisa. She drank a potion that causes infertility. Now, the Saif, in the end, the Gloi Milsa, it became revealed to her husband what she did, that she can't have any more children. Allah, so he said to her, Eicho Yaldis Li Chodekar Sachrite. Now I wish it would be possible that you can give birth to me with another full belly. In other words, she had twins before, and he wanted that she could give birth again to twins again. And now here the Gemara actually says, she had already given birth twice to twins. Yehuda v'Chizkiya. So these two brothers of Yehuda and Chizkiya that she gave birth to, Achi, they were brothers, and Pazi v'Tavi Achvasa. And besides that, she also gave birth to two girls, twins, and their name was Pazi and Tavi. Okay, so this is the conclusion of the story. So in other words, what you see over here in the story actually is, she doesn't have, according to what Rab Chiya said, the woman does not have a mitzvah of piriviribya, but Rab Chiya himself already fulfilled the mitzvah of piriviribya. We learned before that in order to fulfill the mitzvah, you have to have a zachar and a keva. Rab Chiya already gave birth with her to 2 zacharim and 2 nekevis. So therefore, basically the point is that Rab Chiya was upset about the fact that he can't fulfill the mitzvah of having more children. We learned before in the Gemara, Rabbi Yeshua said that even afterwards a person should have more children. Now the Gemara asks, on the conclusion that it comes out from this story from Rab Chiya, that a woman is not obligated in the mitzvah. Frek the Gemara, v'loi mifkedi. Is that true, that a woman is not obligated in the mitzvah of piri v'ribya? But v'amar Rav Acha bar Rav Katina Rav Yitzchak. So he said that Maisa b'isha achas. There was an incident with one woman, shechetzia shivcha v'chetzia bas chayrin. She was half a maid and half free. She was owned by partners. And she's a shivcha kananis, so she was half freed by one partner and half not freed. So now what's the problem? She can't get married to anybody. She can't get married to an Eved Kanani. She's half a Yid. She can't get married to a Yid. She's half a guy, half a shivcha kananis. So what happened? V'kofu es rabba. They forced that master that still owned her v'asa bas chayrin, and he freed her. So now she can go and get married. So why did they free why did they force the husband to free her? The only reason that they would force him is in order to allow her to go and get married to do the mitzvah. If not, how could you force the master to free her? So the Gemara says, not necessarily. Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, there's a different reason why they forced him. Minig hefker naguba. What happened was, because this was a woman that nobody could get married to her, so people were taking advantage of this, and people were abusing her. And because of this, in order to prevent people of doing Avedis with her, they forced the master to free her. So therefore the conclusion is, you see here from the end of the Gemara, that a woman is not obligated in the mitzvah of Piri V'Ribya. That's what you see Rab Chiya says. But I mentioned, I think before, that the Rebbe always brings in the Sikha this, that it says in the Ran, that even though a woman is not obligated in the mitzvah, but nevertheless she participates in the mitzvah. The husband can't do the mitzvah without the man. And not only she participates, she carries the baby for 9 months, she raises the children. So therefore, she has a very big part in the mitzvah, even though she doesn't have the obligation, but she fulfills the mitzvah. She has a kiyum in the mitzvah when she has children. Okay, Hadron Allah Chabal Yevimtes. This is the conclusion of the 6th Perek in Masechta Yevamos.